Hello everyone, this is the Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. I wanted to share my thoughts about Erica Mena getting fired from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta because of her racist comments. And I do agree that she should have been fired for what she said. However, and this is not a but I think the entire franchise needs to be canceled. Atlanta, New York, Miami. This show has highlighted and showcased the most negative, derogatory stereotypes about Black women and Hispanic women and men for over a decade. And Mona Scott Young was called out for this a long time ago. But like many people who are vulture capitalists and many people who are grifters and culture vultures, she focused more so on the fact that she was a businesswoman and she was just giving women like Erica Mena and Jocelyn Hernandez a platform to showcase their talents and to showcase what's going on in the Black community as far as with entertainment culture and so on. Now, Black entertainment culture, particularly hip-hop culture, has always been garbage, or it's been garbage for the majority of its history. So Erica Mena calling someone that nasty term is pretty much on brand for the garbage culture that we call hip-hop. I'm not saying that Erica Mena was right in what she said. Again, I think she deserved to get fired. But so do these rappers, men and women, who promote and perpetuate dereliction and dysfunction in our communities. If you guys have listened to my channel in the past, you know how much I hate most rappers. I hate rap culture. I hate hip hop in general. I've hated it for years because it highlights the dregs of society. Okay. And the dregs meaning the prostitutes, the criminals, the drug addicts, the most negative representatives of our people are put on a pedestal, and they're enriched and rewarded with fame, fortune, and popularity for promoting dysfunctional and self-destructive behavior to young Black and brown, but Black children for the most part, right? This is considered to be Black culture, and it's not Black culture. This is derelict culture. This is hood rat gutter culture. Okay, this is garbage. It's not a coincidence that a show about hip hop is going to highlight and showcase dysfunctional, aberrant behavior. That's what hip hop culture is. Okay, I recently read a couple of articles where record labels are now deprioritizing hip hop acts and focusing more on Latin American culture and Afro beats, which I think is a good thing. I think we need a cultural reset. Hip hop has been allowed for 50 years to be the face of Black culture. And I think that this was done deliberately because historically, Black people, Black American people in general, our music changes every decade or so, right? And hip hop for some reason has had a stranglehold, not for some reason, but hip hop has had a stranglehold on our community for 50 years. That is 3 generations. Okay. 3 generations of twerking, pill popping, gun toting, baby mama making culture, right? And this is something that we have danced to and celebrated for decades. We have supported Black male rappers saying the most disrespectful and racist shit towards Black women, to the point where Black female college students were protesting some of these artists. And again, our complaints were ignored, right? The majority of the population, Black women and men, were content with supporting a culture that showed us in the worst possible light. This is what we supported. And then we get mad at other races of people for protecting their brand by canceling artists like Kanye West for disrespecting them. We cannot get mad at other races of people for doing what we refuse to do. Okay? If every time Monique says to us, yo, we got to do better, we wear bonnets in the streets, that's not who we are. That's gutter culture. We get mad because we feel like we're entitled to look like the dregs of society. How dare you call me out for walking around the streets with a bonnet on? How dare you? Even when Bill Cosby made his little pound cake speech 20 years ago, talking about Black men need to pull up their pants and, complete their education and be productive members of society, most older heads did not respect hip hop culture. But the youth at the time, 30, 40 years ago, they pretty much bullied the elders into compliance and silence. So here we are 50 years later, and the culture has devolved. We have reached a tipping point where now there's going to be a civil war within the Black community. Okay. And Chris Rock made a joke about this years ago. He said that there's going to be a war between Black people and N-words. Black people are usually productive, conscientious, law-abiding, love their families, love their children, versus the N-words who have no home training, who are thieves, who are murderers, who are R-words, right? There's a clear distinction between the Black people and the N-words. However, the N-words have been allowed to represent Black people who go to work, who go to school, who take care of their families, because by and large, a lot of Black people have been supporting N-word culture. We've been supporting N-word stereotypes, right? And a lot of us feel like, well, I've graduated from being an N-word to a Black person. Now that I have a career, now that I have a family, I used to support the bullshit back in the day, but now that I'm older, I, see the error of my ways, and that's fine. But we have to stop promoting nigger culture, okay? We have to stop promoting the niggification of Black people. And niggification is a real thing. It starts with the school system. It starts with a dysfunctional home environment. It starts with supporting a dysfunctional and self-destructive culture. Hip-hop is death culture. I've been saying this for years, and I'm happy that the message is finally catching on. Hip-hop culture is death culture. It's baby mama culture. It's no family culture. It's I hate children culture. It's drug culture. It's derelict ex-convict culture. So Erica Mena should have been got fired. But guess what? Mona Scott Young needs to be fired too. I don't care if she's the boss or not. Her show needs to be canceled because she's responsible for creating a platform where someone like Erica Mena can become famous. I'm not going to say rich. Can become famous and popular and influence the minds of other impressionable young people. The cast members of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, New York, and Miami, they look like they're mentally ill. Not all of them, but the way they dress, the way they speak, the way they carry themselves, it looks like mental illness to me. Okay? Having a makeout session with a no-neck bastard like Benzino in public is mental illness to me. Fighting over the likes of Stevie J is mental illness to me. But again, these are the type of women who are entertaining for us. And I mentioned this over a year ago. We have to be careful about the type of content we consume, because the kind of content we consume, it has an influence on us. It has an effect on our psyche. And as a community, we tend to have an appetite for ratchet. We have an appetite for ratchet garbage, which is why these shows like Love and Hip Hop, like Basketball Wives, like Flavor of Love, like Real Housewives, they can be on TV forever because, we have an appetite for garbage culture. And I talked about this a year ago when I said that I did not want Ariane on Love and Marriage Huntsville because that would turn the show into a freaking 3-ring circus. And that was not the original intent of the show. From my perspective, that's not why I started watching the show. I'm not saying that I'm the target demographic, but I kind of sort of am because I'm the same age as the cast members of the show. But yeah, I didn't want Love and Marriage Huntsville to turn into Love and Hip Hop Alabama. Because again, we do as a community have a bloodlust for the ratchet, for the dysfunctional, for the destructive. I'm not saying that we can't have some drama on TV. We've always had drama in our culture. It is what it is. But the people who were once the dregs of society, the prostitutes, the pimps, the drug dealers, the women beaters, they were hidden. They were not given platforms to shine and be the most popular and influential in our community. We used to promote and highlight academics, intellectuals, religious people, really talented artists. 60 years ago, and Erica Mena would not have been allowed on TV for anything other than being pretty and playing the role as someone's wife or a teacher or, I don't know, something that's not whatever she is now. I don't even know what Love and Hip Hop is about because nobody on the show has actual talent. I mean, real talent, in my opinion. Right? I've never liked the idea of hip hop talent, which is rapping. It does require some level of skill, but not today's rappers, not the rappers on that show, not Cardi B. I mentioned before who some of my favorite rappers are. They're more lyricists, not rappers. Lyricists are people who know how to speak English. They know how to spell. They know how to tell stories. They know how to use a thesaurus. Mainstream hip hop is not about lyricism. It's about the vibe. It's about the melody. It's about the negative messaging, being a hoe, being a drug dealer, being a pimp. Like, this is low-key terrorism. On some real stuff. Like, these people promote terrorism within the community. And yet they have been allowed to prosper for 50 years as a culture. This is not my culture. hip hop culture is not my culture. A few months ago, I was watching Drink Champs, and Tank talked about, the fact that R&B is no longer being promoted on the airwaves. Like, the record industry does not want to see Black people talking about love and romance and family and children.
Say I got a rap sheet, as it in today's time, because nobody's really checking the receipts.
Not all MCs, not all rappers.
No, some rappers it's fabricated.
Right.
You know
I'm saying not all of them are rhyming about that.
That's true.
I mean, most are. 95%, 98%.
That's too high of a percentage.
Look at the charts.
Yeah. No, chart. If you're talking about charts, that's different.
What's on the charts?
I mean, but that's how we're identified, right?
Right.
But remember, let's go back to metrics. Let's go back to metrics. There's a lot of things that are popping that are not on the charts.
If they want to know the best about us, where do they look?
Right. Yeah.
They look at mainstream culture, right?
What is mainstream culture? About the Grammys.
And what is mainstream culture?
Right.
It's violence. It's drug dealing. It's drug selling. It's drug using. That's what they perceive as the best about it. Why though?
Right. No, you're right.
Why is it the best of us?
Right.
Why? Like, Sam Smith gets to sing a great song about "Stay with Me." That goes straight to power rotation on a mainstream radio station. If I sing that same song, "Stay with Me," limited bandwidth, because our violence isn't the threat. Our love is. Our family separated. It's fine. It's perfect. The man staying with his family and raising his kids and pouring into his woman. That's the threat.
You're about to be a preacher.
That's.
Dale.
I could not have said it better myself. We are rewarded for showcasing and highlighting the most gutter aspects of our culture. So the niggas have been allowed to take over. Now, I'm not going to act as if white people don't also highlight or showcase ratchet white culture. I'm not going to lie and say they don't. But for the most part, if you listen to white music, whether it's rock or country, not even white music, because none of it's white music. If you listen to white artists, most of them are not talking about anti-family, anti-love, anti-community, kill, violence. They're not doing that unless they are in hip-hop for the most part. But they're not doing that. White society or white mainstream culture will not allow someone like Mena to be the face of their community. They wouldn't allow someone like Stevie J or Lil Wayne or Lil Baby or Nicki Minaj to be the face of their culture. To be honest, instead of Black people having a color caste system, we need to have a caste system based on our culture. Whatever culture that we promote and propagate, that determines our rank or our place in the community. I'm not talking about a socioeconomic class, because there are lots of Black people who, don't make a lot of money, and they're not N-words. They're not niggas. They're productive citizens. They work a regular 9-to-5 job, take care of their families in their homes. So it's not about socioeconomic class. It's about the culture. If you promote gutter culture, you're supposed to be in the back of the line. Nobody's supposed to see you. As a matter of fact, you're supposed to be treated as if you're the rodents and pests in society. And I'm just being 100%. If you are prostituting, if you are a murderer or a drug dealer or a thief that's destroying your community, you're not supposed to be given a pedestal to stand on. You're supposed to be in the back of the line. It's like we treat dark-skinned Black people who are productive citizens worse than light-skinned prostitutes and drug dealers and murderers, as an example. So instead of focusing on colorism, we need to start focusing on culturalism. What culture are you promoting, right? I'm not saying that you have to be a white-collar professional to deserve respect. I'm not saying that at all. If you are working class, if you're middle class, lower middle class, even working poor, you get my respect regardless. But if you are, again, a part of a subculture for subculture that deals with, the criminal elements of society, prostitution again, murdering people, raping, robbing, drug dealing, that whole cesspool of fuckery, then you should be treated like a pariah until you get your shit together. And again, this is not about class. This is about culture. Because there are many Black people, and I'm going to say this for the 15th time, there are many Black people who are poor, but they're productive. They're constructive. They take care of their family. So it's not about class. I'm talking about culture. When are we going to start promoting culturalism instead of classism even, or colorism? because colorism and classism kind of go hand in hand. So someone like Erica Mena will get away with being a derelict because she's Hispanic. She's a light-skinned preference for black men, so she's given a pass by mainly black men. This is how it works, right? So again, Erica Mena needs to be fired, but so does Mona Scott Young. Mona Scott Young has used her platform and her privilege and her power irresponsibly. She has economic privilege. It's not about, racial privilege. She has financial privilege because she's a wealthy woman now. We have to also start calling out these wealthy or privileged or powerful black people for supporting and propagating garbage culture. We need to start doing that too. And we don't do that enough. We celebrate the Dr. Dre's and the 50 Cents. Yes, 50 Cents has a couple of successful shows, and that's fine. But guess what his shows are about? Yes, take a lucky guess. His shows are about gutter culture, like everything else in the black community. You know what? I just thought of something. I've had smoke for Tyler Perry in the past, but Tyler Perry does not promote gutter culture like that. He does talk about a lot of dysfunctional relationships, but he does not. He tries to espouse some level of morality and family values in his shows, even though his writing's atrocious. And I think he finally hired writers for his TV show Sisters, thank God. But even though his writing's atrocious, I can give him a little credit for promoting working class black married families, right? But some of the characters act like minstrel show rejects or step and fetch it understudies. So there is some buffoonery on the show, but there's a little bit of balance. He does show working class married people who are, in love and they have children and they have family values. But again, some of the quality of his work is garbage. But that's in the conversation. But back to my original point. Erica Mena should have been fired, but we need to keep the same energy for Mona Scott Young. We need to keep the same energy for these garbage-ass rappers, okay? Because these garbage-ass rappers have created a culture that Mona Scott Young can exploit with her garbage-ass TV shows. Now, here's my final point. I'm going to be fair. A lot of us do not want to watch The Cosby Show. We don't want to watch reality TV. Not all of us, but a lot of us don't want to watch reality TV unless there's some drama and ratchetness involved. And that's because that's all we've been eating for the past 20, 30 years. When you're used to eating junk food at McDonald's, when someone gives you a plate of healthy fruits and vegetables, you're going to be like, I don't want this. Give me the hot Cheetos and the Sprite with some fried chicken wrapped in bacon. I don't want the salad with avocado and tomatoes and lettuce and peppers and onions. I don't want that. It's nasty. Until we get fat, right? Or until we get a heart attack or have cancer, then we want to change our diet. We need to change our diet when it comes to what we consume now. We have to start weaning off this diet of toxic black culture. Like we have to start to get away from the negative messaging that conditions us or trains us to hate each other and to not be informed, productive citizens. Most of black culture is anti-family, anti-children, anti-relationships, anti-love, anti-education, anti-responsibility. We always want to blame somebody else or something else for the shit that we allow. And then when one of us has the sense to call out the nonsense, we attack them as a community. I'm not saying we as in every black person, but Monique got attacked for asking women to not wear bonnets in the street. Okay? Black Republicans are called racists for wanting black people to take more responsibility and accountability for their own actions. Okay? We get triggered when we're called out for our bad behavior. And then we're all up in arms when Erica Mena calls someone a racist name, but we support racist culture. We have been twerking and popping bottles to racist anti-black culture for decades. Yes, the beat sounds good. Yes, some of the artists are fine to tell. Yes. But most successful black artists were just mascots for anti-black racism. And you don't have to be white to be anti-black. You can be black and be anti-black. You can be Hispanic and be anti-black. You can be Asian and be anti-black. We have disrespected our brand as a people. And now other races can come in our spaces and spit in our faces. We need to start canceling rappers, actors, entertainers, whoever, who promote nigger culture, who promote anti-black sentiments, anti-woman sentiments, colorism. Again, we need to start having a culture war. Instead of celebrating people for how much money they have, or how big their booty is, or how light-skinned they are, we need to start celebrating people who make positive contributions to our culture. Culture is more important than color, especially in our community, because we have all shades of brown in our community. We have been mixed up with other races for generations. So we need to start celebrating culture or promoting positive culture versus somebody's phenotype. Black men and black women promote colorism. Not all black women and not all black men. Light skin is automatically seen as higher class and dark skin is automatically seen as lower class. And again, instead of doing that, focus on the culture of the people, because there are light-skinned people who are ratchet as hell and dark-skinned people who are professionals and doctors and productive citizens. So focus on the culture more than the color. I think that's a better way of safeguarding our culture than, again, worshiping people for how much money they make and how they look. If you make your money by being a drug dealer or ratchet hoe or someone who promotes negative stereotypes of black people, then guess what? You should not be celebrated, period. I am tired of drug dealers and prostitutes being celebrated in our culture and being presented as the face of black excellence. They are not. Okay? To say this one last time. Erica Mena should get fired, but Mona Scott Young needs to be fired too. I am tired of this money over everything culture where we are willing to betray our own people for a bag. We also have to stop celebrating people who are whores for money. People who have no values, no integrity, no character. They'll do anything for the bag. They have to go also. Let's replace colorism and classism with culturalism. Because again, there are people who have lots of money who are in a different class socially, socioeconomically, who also are gutter and ratchet. They need to be called out on their shit too. Okay? All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I look forward to hearing your feedback. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.